solo this week ahead of, well, frankly, a week off on vacation for me. I'm pretty thrilled about it because I'm going to a place where it's going to be a lot cooler than Houston. High temperatures in the 70s. Not this brutal heat we're having down here, but hey, the main thing about brutal heat means it's baseball season. So let's talk a little bit about the Astros as we're heading into the quote unquote second half of the season. Not the actual second half. The Astros have already eclipsed that in number of games. But with the Midsummer Classic happening last night, recording this on Wednesday, the 16th, we're moving into the sort of what we think of as the official second half of the season, unofficial, excuse me. And this is kind of where the ball gets rolling towards the postseason. And so first, let's talk just briefly about the All-Star game. There were no Astros in it. Jeremy Pena, of course, has the broken rib, so he was out. Isaac Paredes, who was a replacement person in the game, begged out for family reasons, apparently. And Hunter Brown was unavailable, I think, just because he pitched recently. So the only person who was actually available was Josh Hader, and he did not see any action in 9 innings of play. It was a fascinating game. I will say this. The home run derby, if you didn't catch it, which was, the big dumper, which my wife absolutely hates that I keep saying the big dumper repeatedly, but Cal Raleigh from the Mariners winning the home run derby in a really spirited and fun derby. And honestly, the All-Star game was fun. NL up 6-0. AL comes all the way back, ties it in the 9th, and they go to a home run off, essentially, with Kyle Schwarber winning it for the NL. Really, it was kind of fun. I'm not really into. The other day I was on the radio and I just basically lambasted any kind of all-star games because I find them to be kind of boring. But this one was actually kind of fun. So good for them. No Astros playing means good news. There's nobody got hurt, and so they move into the second half of the season. Now, the Astros start this post All-Star break 5 games up. They have some critical series. They're going to play the Mariners coming up. They have the second easiest record. I think it's second easiest record in all of baseball for the remaining portion. But as we've seen, they went out, crushed the Dodgers, destroyed the Cubs, ruined the Phillies, and they come back and lose back-to-back series to the Guardians and the Rangers. So who knows with this team, particularly with all the injuries. But the one thing that is true about this is that their record is essentially, again, the teams that they play against are essentially going to be mostly bad teams, primarily because they're mostly going to be in division teams. When you're talking the A's and the Angels, even the Mariners and Rangers, these are not great teams. The Astros should be able to use that 5-game lead and increase it. Now, they will have some tough games. Again, the Seattle series is going to be important. They will face Detroit. In the future, they'll face the Yankees. But for the most part, it's a pretty easy schedule. So they really have to make this schedule work for them. And part of that is going to be getting some guys back. Let's be completely fair about this. The Astros are missing a bunch of people, right? We don't really know when Yordan Alvarez is going to be back. We don't know what the story on Jake Myers is, right? That's 2/3 of, the outfield. Obviously, Alvarez isn't playing a lot in the outfield, but those two guys are out. Then you look at the other players that have come up, like Zach DeZenzo or Jacob Melton. We're not sure when they're going to be back. Jeremy Pena out with the broken rib. And those are just your position players, right? Those are just the guys we're talking about, they're playing in the field. That doesn't even count all the pitchers, right? We're still waiting if we're going to get Spencer Arrighetti back anytime soon. There has been, we don't know about JP France. Luis Garcia's, we're not sure about where he's at. We do know that Christian Javier has looked good. We do know that Christian Javier got up to 95 miles an hour throwing. So he is looking like he is going to potentially return this year and provide some valuable innings, and that's a huge deal for the Astros. But yeah, when you look at this team, they are completely filled with holes due to injury. They played one of the toughest schedules in baseball, and yet they're still 5 games up. and really only a couple of games out of the best record in the AL. It's been a remarkable season in that regard, but they're going to need to get some guys back. They're going to need, and of course, the Astros are so weird about injuries and how they describe them and timelines and all that. I feel like Jeremy Pena has made some progress. They said he seems to be swinging a little bit, not heavy. He's working in the field, in the field, shagging fly balls, grabbing grounders. Jordan's break in his hand is completely healed. They've given him injections to reduce some of the inflammation, but he's still not swinging a bat yet. And the injections, I think, were about a week ago. So we don't really. And Jake Myers, I mean, maybe is he in like a CIA black site? I don't know what, maybe his calf or whatever his injured is. Anyway, we just don't know what's going to happen there. If the Astros get even some of these guys back, it's going to be a huge deal for them. And look, we need to be thankful for guys like Cam Smith and Taylor Trammell, right? These are guys that have come in, and Zach Short, right? Who? Zach Short. And never mind Isaac Paredes. And Jose Altuve, the one who wasn't supposed to be good in left field, playing basically every game. It is a very fascinating. It's just really been fascinating to watch this team. Clint just dropped a comment in here. I appreciate that. They have been better against the better teams. You're right. A part of it, though, to be honest, is that's who they've played. They haven't played a lot of also-rans, but they're getting ready to do that. And so, look, as we got towards the All-Star break, you could tell this team was a little worn down. I personally feel like some of what has happened over the last 2 weeks with the Guardians and the Rangers, I think some of it was fatigue. I think some of it was a natural letdown that occurs after you have huge series. I mean, they had a huge month essentially in June, one of the best months in baseball, and against some incredibly good teams. Very, very, very difficult stretch of baseball, and they were exceptional in that run. So a lot is what's going to have to happen here is they're going to have to play well against the bad teams, and they're going to have to get some help, in the form of some injury guys. They need some guys back. The other question is the trade deadline, which is coming up in just 14 to 15 days. 15 days, I guess. 30 days after September, June. 30 days, 15 days. So the trade deadline is a really interesting one for the Astros. They've been pretty vocal. Dana Brown has been pretty vocal about saying they want a left-handed bat. I don't think there's any question they're going to be out there looking for someone. I don't know if they're going to be able to land a big-time bat. They've used up a lot of their trade opportunities by trading away younger players previously. They're trying to replenish their minor league roster, and they've been using a lot of guys at the major league level. Bryce Matthews just came up, right? So they're using, a lot of their cards are on the table at the major league level. The guy who probably had the best trade value up until about a week ago was Jake Myers. And Myers now with this unknown injury, who knows if he's going to be available to be a piece of a trade. You could someone like Chas McCormick, who's not going to get you much, but he's certainly someone that could be added into, to a trade scenario. I'm just not sure what you do if if you want to get a legit piece, like an outfield piece, a left-handed bat. I'm not sure how they're going to do that. They also would like another arm. There's never too much pitching, as we've seen, not just this year, but in years past. The question there is, do you make a move for that if you're anticipating getting back some of these guys? If you're anticipating that, Lance McCullers has been up and down. Hunter Brown has been great until his last couple of starts. Framber Valdez has been pretty much exceptional. They are going to get Arrighetti back. Arrighetti doesn't have a shoulder problem or anything. He broke a bone. So he will get back, and he will probably pitch okay. But you have to start looking and going, okay, are we still going to put Ryan Gusto out there? Are we going to bring some of these other guys along and keep throwing them out there? Will Christian Javier get back in time to play meaningful innings? And I'm sure he'll be limited in those innings. So I don't really envy them. And I do want to say something too about where the Astros are at. I mean, the draft just happened, right? Something I'll mention. Astros in the first round they drafted this big kid, high school prep kid, which they almost never do. They're almost always drafting college guys. But this kid he's played a lot of second base, but he's essentially a third baseman, and has power for days, like prodigious power numbers. The big question with him is he has had a lot of swing and miss, and not chase rate, by the way. His chase rate is actually pretty good. His swing and miss has been in the zone, which is a concerning thing, right? But I mean, he is in high school. Now he is committed. I forget which college he's committed to. So they're going to have to fork out some money to keep him out of college. We'll see how that plays out. But right now, the Astros the draft is just, they got to keep doing it to replenish, the pieces that they've lost. And they do have some promising young talent in the minor leagues that's moving up. But I do want to address something related to the trade deadline. And that is something that I thought from the beginning of the year. And that was, I believe pretty strongly that this was going to be a transitional year. I still think to a degree that is true. But with all of the moves in the offseason, with letting Alex Bregman go, moving Kyle Tucker, Ryan Presley going too, with making all those moves and bringing in Isaac Paredes and putting Cam Smith on the opening day roster and signing Christian Walker, and moving Jose Altuve to left field, which opens up a spot at second, which probably will eventually be filled by Bryce Matthews. So you have to look at this and you have to start thinking, okay, this is a year of transition. I was just not expecting them to win. I mean, that's really the thing that's been remarkable about this, is that Ben does stuff. Thanks. Go Astros. Agreed. I don't know who was expecting them to be good this year. And if you were, man, give me your lotto numbers, because this is a team that has exceeded expectations, which is why, honestly, anybody at this point of the season, if we get frustrated by what happens to the Astros going forward, if suddenly they're just like, okay, they're not that great, or they end up getting bounced in the postseason or whatever, at this point, who cares? I mean, this is a team that has wildly exceeded anyone's expectations, in addition to the fact that they've been crushed by injuries. I think they're among the top 4 in terms of innings missed due to the injury. So the fact that they have been this exceptional in a year that I always thought was going to be just a move from, because look, Framber Valdez is a free agent, right? I think there's real reason to believe he will not be back. Jeremy Pena was thinking about signing an extension, but then he hired Scott Boras, and now we're not sure. Hunter Brown's got Scott Boras too. So they're bringing up these guys, Bryce Matthews, Cam Smith. We've seen DeZenzo a little bit. We've seen Jacob Melton a little bit. We've seen some of these. We've seen a few guys like Zach Short and Shea Whitcomb, who just doesn't seem to be able to hit at the major league level. And then Jeremy Pena is young. Yainer Diaz is young. Isaac Paredes is not old, right? This is a team that has a lot of young and upcoming talent, never mind the pitching staff, especially when guys start returning from injury. I mean, Luis Garcia and Christian Javier, along with Hunter Brown, it's a pretty formidable batch of pitchers. So it's interesting to me that I really did believe this was going to be an almost complete and total rebuilding transitional year. Yeah, Clint, I understand. Everybody, listen, when you're a fan, he says, definitely surprised, but now I'm spoiled by it and upset when they struggle. And that's fans, right? I mean, that's how we're all like, because it's like you and especially in this era, right? This decade plus of exceptional performing, of course you're going to get a little bit greedy, you know, because I'm pretty sure I speak for everyone. I say we all kind of, I don't think any of us really fully expected a turnaround like this. I think we expected there was going to be some struggles. There still probably will be in the future. Um, but this has been a very resilient franchise given all of the turnover that they've had. I mean, listen, we're essentially now on the third layer of turnover because it started with Jose Altuve, who's still here, right? Lance McCullers still here. But, you know, we went through the first batch that included the 2017 World Series that had Carlos Correa and George Springer, right? Amongst numerous others. A lot of those guys are gone. Then we had the 2022 World Series team that included Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker. And Bregman was obviously in the first one as well, but it included, you know, Kyle Tucker. It included Yordan Alvarez, some newer guys, right? I'm not saying those guys are fading. There's, you know, Kyle Tucker's gone, obviously. Yordan Alvarez is still here, although not at the moment. This is really, now we're working on sort of a third, I don't want to say generation exactly, because it's only been, you know, what, 2014. So it's only been 11 years, really. But it is, when you think of it, it's another layer of players. I mean, if you go back and think about where we were 10 years ago and the players that were there, because, you know, we're now coming up on the 8-year anniversary of the first World Series. In 2 more years, this team is really not going to look anything like it did 10 years ago. And while there's nothing wrong with that, I think it's expected. I don't know that all of us expected that 5 years after the World Series, it would look completely different or pretty close to it. So yeah, it's been a remarkable run, and I'm certain that they will struggle to some degree. I'm certain the injuries will catch up to them to some degree. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be bad this season. I think they're still the cream of the crop when it comes to the AL West. I still think they're better than probably all but maybe 1 or 2 teams in the American League. I think they're certainly as good as or slightly below most of the teams in the American League. I mean, the National League, excuse me. The Dodgers, with all of their problems, certainly the Mets are very good. And I know I'm going to miss some teams, but like really the Yankees and the Astros are pretty much on even playing surface in terms of their talent level and their play. And the really the standout team in the AL is the Tigers. And they're very, very good. But do we honestly think that the Tigers are that much better than the Astros? Probably not. I mean, on paper, sure. But in reality, I don't know. So we head into the unofficial second half of the season, starting end of this week. I mean, we're back at it really quick. I'm very fascinated by the idea that they come out of this and they're straight into Mariners series, right into the Mariners, right? Mariners, Diamondback. I'm just quickly looking through the schedule here. They go Mariners, right? Important 3-game series in Seattle. Then they're in Arizona for the D-backs. D-backs have not been good this year. Really, really struggled. Then they're home. And then they're home for the A's, the Nationals, before going to the Red Sox, and then the Marlins. Yikes. And the Yankees. That's their probably last real long road trip of the season. Before coming home for the Red Sox, Orioles, they go to the Tigers, go to the Orioles. Then they're home for the Rockies, home for the Angels, home for the Yankees. So 2 series against the Yankees, home for the Rangers again, at the Blue Jays, which will be an interesting series, at Atlanta, then home for the Rangers, home for the Mariners, home for the A's, home for the Rangers, home for the Mariners. Then they finish on the road at Sacramento, / Oakland, and then at LA for the Angels. So just a lot of not great teams, in that run towards the end of the season. So the goal obviously is to win as many of those as you possibly can. I'm not sure they're going to win at like a 650 clip or a 700 clip, but listen, the Astros should be able to win at 600, you would think, and probably better than that, right? So anyway, I will be away next week. Hopefully, get back to this the week after I return. Obviously, follow us on the socials. You know where to find us, and obviously, you can watch this on YouTube if you're listening, as it was recorded live. And that's what I like to do. I like to fly by the seat of my pants. Right now, I'm wearing shorts; they're not pants. Oh, and I'm wearing my 2023 All-Star Game hat right now from Seattle, which I thought was cool. The colors on this are pretty great. Anyway, everybody enjoy their next upcoming week. I certainly will enjoy mine, and we will catch you on the flip side. As always, go Astros.